if the court does side with President Trump here, it would, in essence, go a long way towards giving him that more muscular presidency that he has long sought.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, the plain English part is not so easy when you're dealing with this kind of alphabet.
I get it. Yep.
A federal judge just stunned Donald Trump in what might be the most devastating legal blow his administration has received yet. The court didn't just rule against Trump. The court threw out his top lawyer from a powerful prosecutorial post and tossed all the cases she brought against Trump's political enemies. And this wasn't a close decision. This was a unanimous 3-judge panel saying what Trump tried to do was illegal. Trump tried to turn his longtime personal attorney, Alina Habba, into New Jersey's top federal prosecutor. He wanted her in that position so she could bring federal charges against his enemies. He nominated her for the permanent job, then pulled the nomination, then tried to install her as acting U.S. attorney anyway, and defendants challenged the maneuver as illegal. And a federal court agreed. The court disqualified Habba from serving as acting U.S. attorney, stripped her authority over cases, and led another judge to throw out high-profile prosecutions she brought against Trump's enemies. This is Trump's entire plan for weaponizing the Justice Department collapsing in real time. But real quick, before we get into this, let's be honest. You can't really trust mainstream media anymore. That's why we built John Brown's show to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, join our free newsletter. We'll send the news straight to your inbox every day. Just click the link in the description to join. And if you just want to support what we're doing, join us. Be part of the community that actually cares about the truth. And seriously, check right now if you're actually subscribed to this channel, because you might think you are but aren't. Your subscription actually matters here. All right, let's get into what actually happened here. December 1st, 2025. A unanimous 3-judge panel of the 3rd U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that Habba's appointment as acting U.S. Attorney for New Jersey violated the Federal Vacancies Reform Act. The court upheld a district judge's order disqualifying her. The ruling was not close. 3 judges, unanimous. Habba was out. The legal maneuver Trump tried to use to install his personal lawyer in a powerful prosecutorial position had failed. The court stepped in and said, "No, you cannot do this. This violates the law, and we are removing her from the position." Now let me bring the receipts on what the court actually said, because the language is brutal for Trump. The court said Trump's Justice Department used unusual legal maneuvers to install Habba, who had no prior prosecutorial experience, in a role normally requiring Senate confirmation. Notice that phrase, unusual legal maneuvers. That's the court's diplomatic way of saying the administration tried to circumvent the rules that are supposed to govern who can serve as federal prosecutor. And notice what else the court emphasized. Habba had no prosecutorial experience. She was Trump's personal attorney. She represented him in civil cases. She had never tried a criminal case. And Trump wanted her running a U.S. attorney's office with power to bring federal charges against anyone in New Jersey. The court said the maneuver violated the law. Now let me explain the specific legal problem here, because this is important. Once Habba was a formal nominee for the permanent U.S. attorney position, she could not legally serve as acting U.S. attorney. The Federal Vacancies Reform Act has rules about who can fill positions temporarily while waiting for Senate-confirmed nominees. And one of those rules is that someone who has been nominated for the permanent position cannot serve as the acting holder of that position. The rule exists to prevent exactly what Trump tried, using nomination as a pretext to install someone without Senate confirmation. Trump nominated Habba, then pulled the nomination, but the legal consequences of having nominated her persisted. She could not serve as acting U.S. attorney, regardless of whether the nomination was withdrawn. And here's where it gets even more devastating for Trump. A related ruling from November 24th added to the disaster. A federal judge tossed criminal cases against former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James after finding that another Trump pick, Lindsay Halligan, was also unlawfully appointed as interim U.S. attorney in Virginia. Think about what that means. The cases were not dismissed on the merits. They were dismissed because the person who brought them had no legal authority to do so. The prosecutions Trump wanted against his enemies were thrown out because Trump could not follow the rules about who can be a prosecutor. The revenge agenda collapsed on a technicality, except the technicality was the law. Now let me explain why the Federal Vacancies Reform Act that Trump violated is so important. The act exists specifically to prevent presidents from circumventing Senate confirmation. The Constitution gives presidents power to nominate and the Senate power to confirm principal officers of the United States. U.S. attorneys are principal officers. They have significant authority to bring criminal charges, and they normally require Senate confirmation. But positions sometimes become vacant and need to be filled temporarily. The Vacancies Act creates rules for temporary fills that preserve the Senate's role while allowing government to function during transitions. The rules the Act establishes are specific about who can serve as acting officer. Generally, senior officials from the same agency can serve temporarily. Career officials meeting certain requirements can serve, but there are limits on how long they can serve and restrictions designed to prevent presidents from using acting appointments to avoid confirmation entirely. And one key restriction is that nominees for the permanent position cannot serve as acting holder. The restriction prevents the maneuver of nominating someone, letting them serve as acting indefinitely, and never actually seeking confirmation. Trump ran into this restriction with Haba. And the appointment sequence that the court found unlawful involved nominating her for the permanent U.S. attorney position, then pulling the nomination, then trying to install her as acting. The administration apparently believed that pulling the nomination would eliminate the legal bar on her serving as acting. The court disagreed. The nomination, even if withdrawn, triggered the restriction. Once nominated, she could not serve as acting. The withdrawal did not reset the legal clock. Now here's what makes Haba's lack of prosecutorial experience so significant. It shows what Trump was trying to accomplish. He was not seeking an experienced prosecutor to run an important office. He was seeking a loyal personal attorney to occupy a position with power to bring charges. Haba's qualifications for the position were her loyalty to Trump, not her prosecutorial expertise. The installation of someone with no relevant experience signals that the position was being used for purposes other than effective prosecution of federal crimes. And the unanimous three-judge panel that ruled against Haba reflects consensus that the legal issues were not close. Appellate panels can split, producing concurrences and dissents that reflect genuine disagreement. When three judges agree unanimously, as they did here, the message is that reasonable judges would not disagree. The administration's legal position was not a plausible alternative reading of the law, it was wrong. The unanimity adds weight to the defeat. Now let me explain what the disqualification remedy the court imposed actually means. Because this is more severe than simply ruling the appointment was improper, disqualification means Haba is removed from the position, not just criticized for holding it improperly. She cannot continue exercising authority. Her past actions in the position are subject to challenge. The remedy has teeth. The court did not just say what Trump did was wrong. It undid what Trump did. And the stripped authority over cases' consequence of disqualification means prosecutions Haba brought are vulnerable. If she had no authority to serve as U.S. attorney, she had no authority to bring cases. Defendants in those cases can argue the prosecution should be dismissed because they were initiated by someone without legal power to initiate them. The authority stripping is not an abstract legal finding. It has concrete consequences for cases that were central to Trump's agenda, and the Comey and Letitia James cases that were thrown out in the Halligan ruling illustrate what those consequences look like. Trump wanted Comey prosecuted, presumably related to the FBI's investigation of Trump. Trump wanted Letitia James prosecuted, presumably related to her civil fraud case against him. Both prosecutions were brought by Lindsay Halligan, another Trump pick who was also unlawfully appointed. The cases were dismissed not because Trump's legal theories were wrong, though they may have been, but because the person bringing them had no authority to do so. The revenge agenda failed on procedural grounds. Now let me show you the pattern here, because this isn't just about Haba and Halligan. The unlawfully appointed finding about Halligan parallels the Haba finding. Different circuit, Virginia versus New Jersey, but same basic problem. Trump's attempt to install loyalists as U.S. attorneys ran into the same legal barriers in multiple jurisdictions. The pattern suggests the administration was trying the same improper approach repeatedly, and courts were blocking it repeatedly. The failure was not isolated to one person or one jurisdiction. It was systematic. And the weaponizing justice theme that connects these rulings goes to what Trump was trying to accomplish with these appointments. Normal U.S. attorney appointments involve seeking experienced prosecutors, often career DOJ officials or respected local attorneys who will enforce federal law professionally. Trump's appointments, Haba with no prosecutorial experience, Halligan brought in to pursue political enemies, reflect a different purpose. The positions were being used to target Trump's opponents, not to enforce law impartially. Courts removing these appointees are protecting against weaponization. Now let's talk about the Senate confirmation bypass that Trump attempted, because confirmation exists as a check on presidential power. Senators can evaluate nominees, question their qualifications, and refuse to confirm those who are unfit. By installing prosecutors as acting officials without confirmation, Trump avoided that check. He could put anyone he wanted in these positions regardless of qualifications or intentions. The courts enforcing the Vacancies Act restored the check Trump was trying to circumvent. And here's what the loyalist stacking pattern that these appointments fit into reveals. It extends beyond Haba and Halligan to a broader effort to control U.S. attorney offices with Trump allies. U.S. attorneys have enormous power. They decide who to prosecute. They have discretion over which crimes to prioritize. They can bring or decline to bring cases against anyone in their jurisdiction. Controlling U.S. attorney offices with loyalists means controlling federal prosecution across the country. The pattern of Trump trying to install loyalists and courts blocking those installations represents a fight over who controls federal law enforcement. Now let me show you what legal experts are saying about this. Lawfare's litigation tracker that monitors these cases notes growing concern that courts are having to step in repeatedly to police Trump's DOJ appointments. The pattern is not one rogue appointment that courts corrected. It is repeated attempts to circumvent legal requirements and repeated judicial interventions to enforce them. The frequency of interventions suggests either that the administration does not understand the legal requirements, which seems unlikely given the lawyers involved, or that it is deliberately violating them, hoping to accomplish objectives before courts can respond. Either way, courts are doing the policing work that should not be necessary, and the literal removal from power that these rulings accomplish deserves emphasis because it is concrete rather than symbolic. Courts are not just criticizing Trump, they are removing his people from positions. They are stripping their authority. They are dismissing the cases they brought. The removal is not rhetorical. Haba is actually out. Halligan's prosecutions are actually dismissed. The consequences are real. Now let's talk about what this means for Trump's broader strategy, because the blown up in his face characterization captures what has happened to Trump's prosecutor installation strategy. He wanted Haba in New Jersey. He wanted Halligan in Virginia. He wanted them pursuing his enemies. Courts said no. They are out. Their cases are dismissed. The strategy has not merely failed to succeed, it has produced negative consequences. High-profile rulings that document the improper appointments, dismissed prosecutions that were supposed to demonstrate Trump's power to punish enemies, and precedents that will make future end runs harder. And here's what Haba's lack of prosecutorial experience raises questions about. What was she supposed to be doing in the position? Experienced prosecutors bring expertise. They know how to build cases. They know what charges are appropriate. They know how to navigate the legal system. Someone without that experience cannot perform those functions effectively. But if the goal was not effective prosecution of actual crimes, if the goal was using prosecutorial power against specific political targets, then experience becomes less important than loyalty. Haba's lack of experience suggests the goal was the latter. Now let me show you what the appellate court's language about unusual legal maneuvers really means. Appellate courts generally use measured language. They do not typically call administration actions unusual unless the actions are well outside normal practice. The characterization signals that what the administration did was not good faith interpretation of ambiguous law. It was an attempt to do something the law does not permit through maneuvers designed to evade legal restrictions. The court saw through the maneuvers and blocked them. And the formal nominee restriction that trapped Haba exists specifically because of concerns about presidents circumventing confirmation. The scenario, nominate someone, let them serve as acting, never actually seek confirmation, was anticipated by Congress when it wrote the Vacancies Act. The restriction prevents that scenario. Trump's attempt to evade the restriction by withdrawing the nomination did not work because the restriction is about having been nominated, not about being currently nominated. Once the nomination happened, the bar applied. The legal analysis was straightforward. The administration's position was not plausible. Now let's talk about the revenge agenda failure documented by these rulings, because it extends to specific cases that were central to what Trump wanted to accomplish. Comey investigated Trump. Trump wanted Comey prosecuted. Letitia James sued Trump for fraud. Trump wanted James prosecuted. The prosecutions were brought, but they were brought by someone without authority. They were dismissed. The revenge Trump sought has not been obtained. The agenda has failed, at least through this mechanism, and the judge who threw out the Comey and James cases was not evaluating whether they should have been brought on the merits. The dismissal was on procedural grounds. The prosecutor who brought them lacked authority. The ruling does not exonerate Comey or James of whatever accusations were made. It says those accusations cannot be pursued by this prosecutor. A different prosecutor, properly appointed, could theoretically bring the same charges, but the specific prosecutions Trump arranged have been terminated. Now here's why the Senate role in confirming U.S. attorneys that Trump was trying to bypass is so important. It exists because the founders wanted a check on prosecutorial power. Federal prosecutors can destroy lives. They can bring charges that ruin reputations and impose enormous legal costs even if acquitted. They can deprive people of liberty through imprisonment. Power that significant deserves scrutiny. Senate confirmation provides that scrutiny. By trying to avoid confirmation, Trump was trying to exercise unchecked prosecutorial power. Courts have restored the check, and the implications for future appointments extend to whether the administration will keep trying improper appointments or finally comply with legal requirements. The pattern so far has been try, get blocked, try again differently, get blocked again. Whether the pattern continues depends on whether the administration learns from the losses or continues attempting the same approach. The courts have been consistent. The legal requirements are clear. Continued attempts to circumvent them should produce continued judicial blocking. Now let me explain what makes this a major setback for Trump's broader strategy. Installing loyalists as prosecutors was central to how Trump planned to use the Justice Department. The installations have failed. The loyalists have been removed. The cases they brought have been dismissed. The setback is not a minor adjustment. It is a defeat of a core element of how Trump intended to govern. And the Appointments Clause and Vacancies Act intersection that these cases illuminate involves constitutional structure as much as statutory interpretation. The Constitution gives the Senate a role in confirming principal officers. The Vacancies Act implements that role by regulating temporary appointments. Together, they create a framework designed to prevent exactly what Trump attempted. The framework is working, courts are enforcing it, the constitutional structure is being preserved against presidential attempt to circumvent it. And the pattern of courts stepping in to police DOJ appointments creates an ongoing oversight function that the administration must now expect. Future appointments will be scrutinized. Defendants in future cases will challenge prosecutor authority. Courts will continue evaluating whether legal requirements have been met. The scrutiny represents a judicial check on executive appointment power that extends beyond specific cases to general enforcement of legal requirements. Make sure you're subscribed to John Brown's show because we're going to keep tracking these judicial victories against Trump's weaponization strategy. We're going to keep documenting every court ruling that blocks his improper appointments. We're going to keep following what happens to the revenge prosecutions he wanted, because the facts here are documented in court rulings. A unanimous 3-judge panel disqualified Haba from serving as acting U.S. Attorney for New Jersey. The court found Trump's Justice Department used unusual legal maneuvers to install her in violation of the Federal Vacancies Reform Act. Once she was a formal nominee for the permanent position, she could not legally serve as acting. A related ruling threw out prosecutions against Comey and Letitia James because Halligan was also unlawfully appointed as interim U.S. Attorney in Virginia. The Loyalist installation strategy has failed. The cases brought by improperly appointed prosecutors have been dismissed, and the Federal Vacancies Reform Act violation that disqualified Haba reflects legal requirements Trump tried to circumvent. The act exists to preserve the Senate's confirmation role. It restricts who can serve as acting officers and for how long. The restriction on nominees serving as acting prevents exactly what Trump attempted, using nomination as pretext to install someone without confirmation. The legal requirements are clear. The administration violated them. The courts enforced them, and the unanimous appellate ruling signals that the legal analysis was not close. 3 judges, no dissent. The administration's position was not a plausible alternative interpretation. It was wrong. The unanimity adds weight to the finding that what Trump attempted was obviously improper, not debatable exercise of discretion, but clear violation of law. The disqualification remedy removes Haba from the position and strips her authority over cases. The remedy has teeth. She is actually out. Her prosecutorial actions are actually void. The remedy is not just criticism of how she was appointed, it is reversal of the appointment and its consequences. The concrete consequences matter more than abstract legal findings, and Haba's lack of prosecutorial experience reveals what Trump was seeking. He was not seeking an effective prosecutor. He was seeking a loyal attorney. Haba's qualifications were her personal loyalty to Trump, not her ability to prosecute federal crimes. The appointment was about using the position for Trump's purposes, not about effective law enforcement. The unusual legal maneuvers characterization from the court captures what the administration did. It tried to manipulate the process to achieve a result the law does not permit. The maneuvers were unusual because they departed from normal practice. They were unusual because they were designed to evade legal restrictions. The court saw through them and blocked them. And the Comey and Letitia James case dismissals represent concrete failure of Trump's revenge agenda. He wanted these people prosecuted. He installed prosecutors to do it. The prosecutions were brought, the prosecutions were dismissed because the prosecutors lacked authority. The revenge Trump sought has not been obtained through this mechanism. The agenda failed. Share this video with everyone you know because people need to understand what just happened. Trump tried to install his personal lawyer as a federal prosecutor so she could go after his enemies. The court said no, threw her out, stripped her authority, dismissed the cases she brought. This is the judicial system working. This is courts enforcing the law against a president who thinks he's above it. This is the check on presidential power that the Constitution requires. Trump's weaponization strategy has blown up in his face. His loyalists have been removed from power. His revenge prosecutions have been terminated. And the precedent is now set that courts will block future attempts to circumvent appointment requirements. The Senate confirmation role has been restored. The constitutional structure has been preserved. And Trump has suffered a major defeat in his attempt to turn the Justice Department into a weapon against his political enemies. This story continues. The pattern of judicial blocking will continue, and we'll keep documenting every victory for the rule of law against Trump's abuses of power. Stay tuned.